Hello, everyone, and welcome to the About Healing podcast. This is a show created for those on or awakening into their spiritual journeys who are ready, wanting, and learning how to heal themselves. I'm your host, Sheree Buckman, medium and spiritual healer. Join me as I share my unfiltered perspective in healing, creating a place of love and understanding for all, reminding us that we are in this life together and never alone in our struggles. To learn more about me and my purposeful work, visit my website at shereebuckman.com. Let's begin. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. I am so grateful for all of our listeners that are coming back and listening again, especially with this new change coming. And I also want to welcome any new listeners that are coming in. All I got to say is buckle up, Buttercup. So if you stuck with us from the previous episode, you know there's been some big changes. But before we really get into that, gotta say good morning to my dear friend, Ms. Copper.
Good morning. Is it still morning?
Oh, I guess it depends what time you're listening, and I don't even know what time it is while we're recording.
I don't know either.
So in that case, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Good day to you, my lady.
Good day. We've covered all of our bases. You're welcome to everyone out there listening. How are you feeling going into this episode, Copper?
Change is one of my least favorite things on this planet. And I'm looking at it this way that I've been working really hard on being more okay with that and more open to it. And this is kind of forcing me, and I think forcing you too, to accept it and use it to make good changes.
Well, yeah, you're definitely preaching and getting into my head on that one. It is a different and interesting episode because if you didn't listen to our previous episode, my co host, Katie, has decided to move on from the podcast. She's decided to move on into bigger things for herself. She had to do what she had to do.
I feel like you're struggling to find the right words here, so I'll just jump in if you don't mind.
Please do.
I feel, as kind of the outsider looking in, that as we progressed with the podcast and started to really chug along, for you, it was very apparent that this is your calling and you're very passionate about it. And this was the direction that you were meant to go in. And for Katie, unfortunately for us, but fortunate for her, it really truly was not feeling the same. That she has goals in her life, she has challenges in her life, she has other passions that she was feeling drawn to that she wanted to focus on. And so it was becoming more of a chore than a passion. And we never want someone to feel that way towards what they're doing. So for her, it was very much the right move to make. And for us, we will miss her so much, but we are making the choice to continue, as she wanted us to do as well, because that was a question is, well, what would you like to see? And she said, I would like for you to continue, because she too felt that you needed to do this, and she did not want to get in your way. And I think that's important to remember. She did not want to get in your way of doing this.
Thank you, Copper. I don't know why it was hard for me to find the words because I think really into it, I'm obviously still grieving this little separation of Katie leaving the podcast. Now, with Katie leaving the podcast, it doesn't change our relationship at all. Katie and
No.
I are still talking every week, sometimes multiple times, and we're right back to where we were before, and honestly, probably a little bit stronger because of the podcast. Now, with everything that Copper said, with his adjustments, first and foremost, just like we did in that last episode, is wishing Katie the best and brightest for the directions that she is choosing for her, because truly she is following her path. She is following her purpose. During the podcast and the time that we were working together, it just kept popping up for her of what she needed to do and where she needed to go. And it just finally became clear. And she did. She had this conversation with me. I mean, it struck me. It was a little heartbreaking, but at the same time, I was extremely supportive because I want her to do what she needs to do.
Make no mistake that as Katie reaches her goals and she does well, we will be in the front row cheering her on.
Absolutely. And honestly, it's right here on this podcast. You'll hear later on of all the fascinating things that she will be doing. Because guess what? We got the voices and we're going to share it. And for those of you who have been following us since day one, or maybe you are new to following us, it's easy to love and connect with Katie. So we're going to make sure that she's not forgotten, that you guys do hear about her. And we will be bringing that to you. Now, I want to explain the process and what's been going on since the moment Katie and I had the conversations about her stepping away from the podcast. Because last episode was about Katie's story and her journey of why she's doing this. But I want to share with you what it's been like for me since that time, kind of what's happening, where are we going from here. So when Katie first told me, after the initial, all of the things that I understood and where she was going and all of that was done, it truly brought me into this little, it was almost a spiral, honestly. It was this, oh my gosh, but now what? I know and I feel what she was saying when she really, really wanted me to continue with this podcast, that this podcast was meant for me. I have a lot of energy in it, that, again, she was so supportive. But boy, did I not just kind of sink inside for a minute and felt all the feels and nervousness of taking this on by myself. Because do I know what I am doing? No, not even close. Copper hears it all the time. No, I don't. Really, I have these incredible thoughts and these feelings and these healing experiences, and not only for myself, but also with others, that I really feel that I need to share. So how do I do that? And sitting here on this podcast again, where you guys have already heard my journey going through the previous episodes of this vulnerability, and for me understanding and working through letting go of my fear of others, of judgment, and so on and so forth. Really kind of everything just came right back. And so I had to filter back through it. And it was funny because this time I didn't have to sit as long in that fear as I would have in the past, because of the processing that I've already been doing and the layers and identifying all of this. So it did make it a little bit of an easier process. So to be clear, am I still scared? Heck yes. This is because, again, this is a very vulnerable show. I'm sharing personal things. I'm sharing insight. I am sharing what my work is about, and so on and so forth. So yes, I am scared. I am scared to continue. I'm scared to take this on for myself. Well, and Miss Copper, because I had to ask Miss Copper when I started this process. Wait, are you still in this? Are you leaving because Katie's leaving? You're like, oh, heck no. There's no way. But I just have to say that in spite of my fears, in spite of my nervousness, in spite of all of those doubts and all of those little crippling things, especially the big things that I used to feel, the judgment, all of it, I'm going. I am going to keep going, and I'm going to do this. I am not going to let my fears stop me in my tracks from creating and doing something that I know is big and beautiful and can reach others to help them.
And I can say easily that within the last month since we've known, I have seen you focus tenfold. Like I've seen more work done, more growth, and more planning for the show in the last month than all of the time before, since my birthday when you called me and we started talking about this. And I think that that means only good things.
Thank you, Copper.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it did. It really, when I started going into that worry or getting into that spot, right, that initial, when Katie said she's separating, or leaving the podcast and continuing on her own journey, it was, I think, a lot of the big emotions or those big feels that I felt
Mhm.
had to go with, because, well, where do I want the podcast to go? What do I want it to be about? It really had me into focus. Well, what is it really going to be about? Where are we going? Let's redefine this. Let's put this back into this little package and really make it look really pretty. I didn't know any of it yet. All I know is a general of what we've been doing, but it's been a little broad, and it has been, and there hasn't been a lot of structure. And well, that's because we didn't know what we were doing. We just started a podcast. Like, we're just kind of get going and we're going to learn as we go. Again, the only reason this podcast is up and running is with Copper. She keeps it going, and I love you so much for sticking with me. And actually, I want to take a minute and express my gratitude directly to you, Copper, because I am grateful for you continuing this journey with me and how much it means to me, because I know within that, and you continuing, no questions asked. When I asked you, you're like, yeah, let's go. Like, if you still have me, let's go. Because a part of that to me is you still believe in me and you still believe that there's a show to be had. And although I am teaching and sharing with others, especially in very recent podcasts, that we should, remove judgment and the thoughts of others and all of that. But sometimes when you get that validation and when you have someone believe in you or just with you to hold your hand, it makes a difference to keep you barreling through and getting past that fear point. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, and thank you, because I can almost say the same, that you have enough faith in me to bring in my expertise, for lack of a better word, because I am what I am and you get what you get. But but you've had enough faith in me to be like, yes, I do value your opinion. So I think that the same could be said for you. So, and I always have faith in you.
Aw, look, everybody
Yeah.
gets to hear all the feels that we have for each other. I love this. And of course, I'm always here for you
Yeah.
in every way, whether professionally or as a friendship. And that's what this is. It's both. So, yes. So now with Katie being gone, you're gonna hear more Copper.
Sorry.
Um, so Copper will be here to really break up so you're not hearing just my voice the entire time. My goodness.
To bring you in.
Yeah, really to reel me in. See, now Copper's kind of becoming like my Jiminy Cricket here, and she kind of tells me like what enough is enough, or should you be doing that? She hasn't been afraid lately. Like we were just talking about, this past month has been really crazy for me, and redefining this podcast and really figuring everything out. She will put me in my place when I've gone too far or if I'm not focusing on something. And I love that about you. So, with the podcast going on, here's the things that I have discovered, and I'm so excited to share this with you. Although some of you who've been following this entire time, this may be kind of sound a little bit, I thought we already knew that. The thing is that I never really defined it and it had to be said. And I think with this, it's really going to help because I want people to understand the niche that we fall into, the audience we're speaking to, and what you're going to expect from this podcast from here on out. So I found recently, and really going into my work and what the content that I want to share, I had to really look at that. Well, what is it that I want to share? What do I feel strongly about that I want to talk about? And so you should have seen it. I know I sent a picture to Copper. I had my giant dining room table just filled with like notes and papers. It was my own chaos, but it was working chaos. And it was me trying to organize and figure out the whole thought process and seeing the podcast laid out on paper. And I came down to this conclusion because I had to look into the purposeful work that I do as a medium and spiritual healer and who I work with, the type of clients that I work with the people that I speak to and are drawn to on a daily basis, not just in my work, but just even in my personal life. And one common thread kept showing, and it was, I keep drawing to me, or I keep speaking to, or those keep asking for guidance from me when it relates to their spiritual journeys or awakenings, or maybe you don't know what that means, but you have things going on that you don't understand and you want to learn more about it. This show is about and created for those who are awakening into that spiritual journey. You may not even know what's happening. This is just really that time where nothing makes sense and awakenings are messy and we don't understand a lot of what is going on. Have you been told that you're too sensitive? Do you just know things, but you have no idea how you know it? Do you often experience deja vu? And not just deja vu like once or twice, really ever. It's often? Do you experience it often? When you're around others or around someone who has a strong emotion, do you take it on? Do crowds make you feel overwhelmed and anxious? These are all just pieces that are possibilities into explaining or showing that you might have sensitivities for yourself, that you may be going through an awakening, or maybe you have abilities or opening into your spiritual journey. That is what this show is about. Because as we start going into an awakening, and it's really kind of the understanding, the knowledge of the journey we're about to take, really, when the awakening happens, you don't know you're on that journey. You actually don't know what's happening. Your life winds up becoming a mess. Things boil up, old traumas. Not only that, nothing makes sense. Everyday things that used to be just fine, now you just have no idea what anything means anymore. And this is what a spiritual awakening is about. And that's kind of where the journey starts. This show now I am creating for those that are on or awakening into their spiritual journeys. But these are also people who are ready to and wanting or already doing and learning how to heal themselves. Because the truest part and the case in point is this, that let's say you are a healer, you just know it. This is just a gut feeling, that intuition. This is that knowing you have that you are meant to help others, that you're going to be a healer of some sort. Do people tell you, man, I love talking to you. I feel so much better. Usually that this is the energy that comes out of a healer. But in order to heal others, you have to heal yourself. These are the things that Katie and I had explained in previous episodes, that we are always doing our healing work because it's never done, and we cannot help others without doing the work ourselves. And it's just a fun little example that I like to throw out there. Think about trying to pick a doctor. You want to learn more about health. So you go to the doctor's office, and here your doctor can barely walk into the room, who is extremely heavy, who is wheezing and can barely breathe. And you're talking to him about health concerns or needing tips on health. How does that make you feel? I mean, it's true. Like, do you really feel like this guy's not helping himself? So how confident do I feel that he's going to be able to help me? So it's that same thing. You can't help others until you are helping yourself. So to further that, so whether you're just beginning your spiritual journey or your healing journey, or you're an inspired healer, or you're already training other healers to heal others, this is a place where we learn to grow together. This is where we're supporting one another and to understand that you are not alone and that healing and growth is a lifetime journey. As I shared in the beginning of this episode, I was talking about all of these emotions and feelings coming back up when the podcast was becoming mine again, where I started feeling the fear of judgment or the worries about, ooh, I hope I'm accepted, or I hope people listen, and that judgment thing going in. As you can see, I've been talking about working through these and healing these, but they don't just go away automatically because you focused on them once. It happens less and less and less over time. That is why healing is a lifetime journey. You don't just need to focus on one thing once and call it done. So if you're wondering what kind of things that I am going to share and where we're going with this, honestly, you're going to hear a lot of the topics and content just kind of like how Katie and I were talking and what we were sharing before. But I'm going to redefine it now and get really into it and putting some of the topics in order to hopefully help you along that journey. But I also want to share with you all the different types of tools and all the different resources and things that maybe you haven't thought of that are out there to kind of help you. I mean, for every person, it's going to be different. There's not just one modality out there that's going to help you. So, no matter what I say and the tools that I give you or my insights and tips, that's not the only way. I am just one piece to helping you heal yourself. But you also have to use your intuition and your gut and have that lead you to where you need to go in your journey. So with that means that in upcoming episodes, really into the next season, we're going to be having a lot more guest speakers. I'm going to have more people on that are going to share their stories, that are going to share their experiences, their expertise, not only in this beautiful healing field, but also their journeys to healing for themselves. because I want you as listeners to feel inspired by other people's stories. That'll help you move along your path to know that you can do it too. And one day you'll be the one also doing the inspiring, because healing yourself is one of the most powerful ways to heal those around you. So from here on out, I'm going to continue to share my unfiltered perspective in healing itself from my own personal lessons, from what I've learned from those around me, from the research, from all the reading I do, because I read like a book every well, I don't finish a book a day. That's just a really big fat lie. But I am reading every day and I'm learning and I'm growing in my knowledge, but using my own intuition, but also listening and having the guidance from my guides, from loving spirit that surrounds us, and from the universal energies. That's what I want to share. And so to bring it all in, I wanted to share you the intention. This is the new intention I have set for this podcast, for my listeners, is that I want this to be a place for others to learn and to hear about all the possibilities of healing ourselves, and healing ourselves at all of the levels, emotionally, mentally, physically, all of it, and spiritually, because truly they are all connected. When one isn't being taken care of, it will create issues and ailments with the rest of them. So, Copper, are you still with me?
I am. Yes, I'm here. I hear you. I'm super excited to see where this is going to go. I'm very proud of you and taking this opportunity, because that is what it is, to refocus, question your motives, and not in a bad way, but it's
Mhm.
making you ask yourself, what is my goal here, which is something that I have like to think I've, for lack of a better term, planted that seed months ago, but it has just started to bloom, and it is my pleasure to watch that happen.
And you're so right. And you can take credit for that because you
No.
have planted a lot of seeds.
I do tend to say I told you so a lot, but that is besides the point.
And that's okay, because you know what? Sometimes we get in our own way and we need to hear it from an outside source. And yes, it doesn't happen right away.
But that's okay.
It is okay. And I get there eventually. And just like the rest of us, we will get there eventually. We all have our own process and way to do. As we wrap up this episode, I really, really, really want to put it out there. I really hope you stick around, because truly this podcast is just getting started. We're in this pivot of really, it's the same, but it's a new direction. I truly feel something so big behind this. I believe I said that in our first episode. It was the reason why I reached out to Katie to start a podcast, because there's this momentum and this energy that I feel behind me saying that you need to speak, you need to get out. We don't know exactly the details of it. I didn't know the details of it then, but I'm starting to understand it now. And this is that energy. So I'm not going anywhere. I really hope that you continue to listen. Not only that, I really hope that you share with those that you feel might need this, who are going through their own spiritual journeys. Please do, because now that Copper just said about the goals, I do have goals now, things that I don't think that I ever would have thought about for this podcast. So I'm grateful for your support. I am grateful for your listens, and let's see what happens along this journey. I'm very excited to see. I'm nervous and I'm scared, but dang it, I'm doing it anyway. So let's do that together. One little thing that I do want to share before we do end this episode is that one of the things I started working on was getting more interactive with the podcast. And by doing that, we are getting more interactive with our social media accounts. I really wanted to put that out there. Please follow us. We're on Facebook and Instagram, because this is where, if we have homework on an episode, we're putting it on social media. Every day you're going to get a tip of a healing tip to work on and how to do it. I say we like you're posting anything.
I post once every other week. Like, let's not give me any credit here.
Okay, Copper, I
Yeah.
will post things like inspirational quotes, behind the scenes. I'm trying to add more behind the scenes photos and kind of things that we're doing. You can see more of us face to face. And I want to interact and have more conversations with the community and our listeners. But one of the most fun things that I want to get going and starting within our social media, and you can only do this if you're following on social media, and I have to be clear on that, we're going to start Freebie Fridays. So Freebie Fridays is going to happen on the first Friday of every month. And I'm going to start doing fun little, like either it's a contest or ways to earn free stuff. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll have a winner every month that I will ship fun things, whether it's going to be crystals or journals, or one day is going to be our About Healing podcast swag. I don't know. I am working on all the possibilities of all the fun things, but follow us and join if you want to get more interactive or at least chances to win some really cool stuff. So as you can see, there's a lot of fun and exciting things happening within the podcast and with the changes coming. Instead of holding fear for the changes, we're rolling with it. So for now, I want to say goodbye, but it's just for today. I'll talk to you soon. With so much love and gratitude, I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode. My hope today is that the message continues to guide you along your path to healing. You can find About Healing Podcast on Pandora, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, or any of your favorite places to listen in. Follow and share the podcast on Facebook and Instagram, where you can find healing guidance, quotes, tips, insights, and chances to win free stuff. To ask questions or share comments, email me at abouthealingpodcast@gmail.com, or feel free to always reach me on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, be kind to yourself.